All right, hello and welcome to the Can You Survive recap show. My name is Isaiah Kidd. I am from season 5, The Great Mountain, and this is my co-host.
I'm Kevin Rodriguez. I am from the most recent season, season 6, Tides of War.
Yes, but you are not here for us. You are here for the players and the game of the Hunter's Moon. But before we begin, I just want to say I know you probably are expecting another challenge to be broadcasted and not seeing us so soon. But we're going to give you a little update. So we decided as a team that we were going to allow the players to get their challenge tomorrow because it is pretty cold out, and we want to give them time to kind of rest and warm up. They've had a very long day. They've been through a lot, as whoever's been maybe watching the live streams with Alicia has seen, and they, ended the day with new tribes. So that's also another opportunity for them to get to know their new tribe mates. But before we talk about the end, let's go back to the beginning and talk about day one.
Yeah, so temperature check. It's 50 degrees out right now, and it's windy, and it feels very cold. So the change in the morning was feeling a little muted. But we'll go back to day one. So as you probably saw on the stream, we started this season a little bit differently. We started with a version of The Amazing Race. So we are in Holton, Maine, and within Holton, there's a beautiful little downtown area, small town, and all castaways were put into what we called hunting parties. So there's 21 members of the cast this season, and they were put into seven different groups of 3 individuals. What they didn't know is that those hunting parties were made up of one person from every single tribe. So that meant there was one from Achaeus, one from Talos, and one from Cutler on every single of those hunting parties. And what they were told before they started the race is that the first team to arrive at the finishing mat with Alan, they would be immune at the first tribal council. And very important distinction of not their first tribal council, but the first tribal council of the game. And similarly, members of the last place team would be they would lose their vote at the first tribal council of the game. To be very clear, that means that the first tribe that went to tribal council, one player would have immunity, another player would have lost their vote, and that as far as the other 2 losers, they're good. Nothing happens. The other 2 winners, they don't get that immunity at their next tribal council. Only applied to the first one. So I'll recap at least who got first place and who got last place. So our first place team was Brad, Brian, and Brianna. They called themselves B3 or 3B.
3B.
One of the
Yeah,
things.
let's do.
And then last place was a really close call between our sixth place team, which was Joel, Andres, and Tyler. And then unfortunately, Miko, David, and BJ were our last place finishers. And that means that they lost their vote for whichever tribe went to tribal council first. So people all started hypothesizing, what do these hunting parties mean? They were told that they had some reason in the game. And basically, what it came down to is on day 2, they were finally told what they meant. Let's see. Yeah, on day 2, they were told what they meant. Should I go through that?
You good?
Yeah, so the way the hunting parties work in this game, which is a big twist to all of this, is that when you are eliminated from the game, when you are voted out of tribal council, you are not out of this game yet. You go to the hunting grounds. Think of it similar to Redemption Island, but as far as how you get back in this game, very different. So you have a chance to get back in this game as long as there is one or more members standing in the game from your hunting party. So if I was out of the game and another one of my hunting party members was out of the game, but Isaiah's in my hunting party, he's still in the game, that means I still have a chance to buy my way back in. We'll get into more details once we get to that buyback later, but now all they know is if you get out of the game, you're crossing your fingers that somebody is still in the game, so you have a fighting chance to get back in it.
Right. And the thing, I think the interesting thing too about that is that they found out about that once they were separated. So because they're no longer together. So you have to rely on the individual person to get themselves through. Because if they don't, they're also detrimenting your game. But again, you're not able to work together. You're not able to make alliances together because you're all on separate tribes. So
it adds so many layers, and we'll get to it because we went through 6 different vote outs today. We went from 21 to 15 on day 2, And it was in discussion several times. It's this added layer of the game that makes it this Survivor just a little bit different. But I'll talk to Isaiah to talk a little bit more about our starting tribes, some advantages.
Yeah, for sure. So also with our starting tribes, they were also told about if you're new to CYS, we like to do a fundraising advantage that happens to be given to our highest raising fundraisers. So usually it's one person from each tribe. And it's been different every season, but this time it definitely was a lot different than usual. So whoever raised the most money on their tribe, they were given immunity. But they are not told if they are the one that who raised the most money for their tribe until they're literally standing in front of Alan, our host, and about to get their torch snuff. Alan would either, so let's say they did raise the most, he would say that they did, and what would happen is that they would sit right back down, and the entire tribe would vote again, but that person who raised the most money would be immune. And if they didn't, then he would say that they didn't, and they would get their torch snuff and head to the hunting grounds. So again, the factor of not knowing if you have that immunity, it's like you have safety, but being unaware of it is still scary. So that means you can't just sit and be comfortable and know that, okay, cool, if I hear my name going around, I'm fine. You have to still be like worried that, yeah, I might not have it. So if my name's going around, I'm always gonna have to make sure that I'm like on alert at all times. And that advantage also only lasts until the pre-merge. So as soon as these players hit merge, that fundraising advantage will no longer cease to exist. And I believe as well, they still won't know if they raise the most money until the game is over. And they will know after after they're voted out. So yeah, that's basically it. I believe. Oh, and then also, yeah, anything with advantages or idols or anything like that. Let's say the first vote happens, the person who raised the most was immune. Any advantage or things that were played in that first round do not carry over into the second. So it's kind of almost a fresh start for anything that's not going to add any little extra spice to it. It's just going to kind of be a big scramble. So
all of us are like literally on the edge of our seat, kind of like we're kind of like crossing our fingers. We're like, so we all know who raised the most. We're not going to tell you yet.
Yeah, no,
because you need to wait and see how it pans out in a tribal council. But we know,
yeah,
and we are like almost kind of hoping for those people to get some votes and maybe get voted out because that's entertainment, baby.
Yeah.
So we're waiting for it. We're excited for it, and as we're going to get into talking about 6 different people were voted out and sent to the hunting grounds today. We're going to talk about how. Oh, but you need to know, Diane. No hints, Renee, not a single hint. And like Caitlin said, all these layers hurt my brain, but I love it. Yeah, I completely agree. I still can't follow everything. We're knee deep in this. We're gonna go on the ride.
Right. So so after they found all of that information out, we started with our reward day, which I'll pass right back over to Karen.
Yeah. So day 1, nobody gets a limit on day 1. I think that's one of the best things about CYS is everybody gets a full experience. You will spend a night here. You will get to enjoy the things that make Survivor. And so first day was reward day. You had the amazing race and then reward day. They competed in 3 different challenges. I will let you go back to the streams and watch the challenges in their entirety. Super, super fun, but we'll get to the nitty gritty of who won, who did well, and then the most important thing is like how did they actually spend these points that they got in the rewards. So Talos, our green tribe, they got 10 points. Cutler, the red tribe, got 7 points, and then Machias. We're all having fun.
The
with
exact
that
way you'd never think to pronounce it.
Yeah, exactly. Machias got 4 points. So then we get to the reward shop. So imagine the reward shop. It's this big table. They could have picked from all these different things. Think mainly like tribe supplies, rope, tarp, rice, pot, all of those different kinds of things. But I think the thing that you want to hear about most is on the table is this little piece of paper called Beware Advantage. So you've seen the Beware Advantage in our most recent seasons of Survivor, but a brief explanation of how it works on CYS this season is Beware means if you take this advantage, you have to do whatever it says in there. So it's kind of this risk reward concept. They did not have to use any points to grab it. It was just there. But they had to send 2 people from their tribe to do this. They had to send 2 people from the tribe to do the reward shop. So there was a little bit of like strategizing of some people were trying to like subtly say like, oh, I'm not good at 2 other people had to go make fire, 3 other people had to be in a challenge. So folks were saying, oh, I'm not good at the challenge, or I don't know how to make fire, to basically try to say, I want to go to the rewards shop
Right.
because I know something's going on there.
And I think it's also good to point out too that normally the beware advantage in Survivor, it's one person. This was a dual beware advantage. So the two people, again, not knowing, they had to agree. And then again, whatever the effect was applied to both of them. So that is a different element to it as well, whether it's good or bad. So I thought that was pretty interesting.
And I bet you're wondering what
it is.
Like, what is it?
Yeah.
So, in the typical fashion of Hunter's Moon, it was called a predator versus prey advantage. So, in its most basic terms, I'm not going to read you out this whole lovely long parchment that they got to read, but they each became each other's predator and prey. All of a sudden, these two people who possibly were working together, possibly were working against each other, now have to target one another. If they successfully eliminate the other player from the game or vote them out from the game before the swap hits, so that's where we end tonight, is the swap at Final 15. If they got that person out, they would be awarded an individual immunity idol that lasts till Final 5, which is a massive power in this game. And if you think about it, nobody knows that you did this successfully. Now you have an idol that you did not have to scurry around camp to get. Nobody would know. All you did was plant this seed of, I'm going to try to get somebody out.
Right.
And if it worked, then it worked. And we're going to talk about some ways that this is kind of manifested in the game. So first, Talos did not take it. That was Brian and Melissa. They decided not to take it. Which is very interesting because later we're gonna see that Melissa and Brian were not working together.
Mm-hmm.
Then there was Macias, there's BJ and Fraser, who did not take it as well. And then Brianna and Taylor, who aren't working together, did take it. So that put an interesting kind of situation of the other two tribes who probably should have taken it because, well, later I'll get to it.
Yeah.
And then the one tribe that did take it, they're like, oh, I don't really want to get this other person out.
Right.
So we'll see if, we'll see. Well, we'll talk more about it. Yeah.
All
You want to move on to day two? Anything
Yeah.
else?
Yeah, I don't think so. That's kind of how the day one ended, and all the tribes went back to their camps and started their fires and had their first night in the freezing cold. And emphasis on freezing. Okay, so into day two, into today, the first challenge. So for the first challenge, the players had to be strapped to a rope that was kind of wrapped around this wooden structure that were attached to a carabiner and work their way through this kind of like twisted maze. And after a certain amount of players got to the end, the remaining players, I believe it was 2 or 3 of them, they had to do a puzzle. And that was basically it. Very simple, just getting through an obstacle course and then letting people do a puzzle. For those results, we had Talos and Cutler, so red and the cream color tribe, or tan color tribe, win, which sends Macias, say that right? Yes, Macias, the green tribe, to the first tribal council. And so basically, what was really going on here was that it seemed to be that there was the names were coming out were BJ and I believe Brad. But the thing is that Brad had the immunity from the Amazing Race, so it didn't really kind of affect anything there. So once we got to the vote, we did see. Oh, sorry, and then also BJ did not have their vote because they were in the 7th place position for the Amazing Race. So with that, the vote was 6-0 for BJ, and pretty self-explanatory. Even BJ had a moment where she did tell her tribe that if it was her, she understood, and that it was okay, and that that's kind of how the game was. Yeah, was there anything else to add to that?
No, I think it just made it for a unique vote. I mean, the first vote was going to be unique no matter what tribe we sent it to because someone was immune and someone lost their vote. Mm-hmm. So all of a sudden, this 7-person tribe that you could have gotten a 4-3, and all you needed was 4 for majority. Now there's only 6 votes in play. You needed 5 for a majority, which almost kind of pressed the hand of this needed to be unanimous.
Right.
And unfortunately for BJ, that's how the cards fell.
Yeah, and I think too, and if you tuned into the live stream and we're at Elisa's tea time, I think that could have played out had BJ had her vote, because we kind of heard that Alex was thinking of possibly flipping and keeping the other half of the tribe with in the game and kind of flipping on this other kind of power trio that was happening between Culp, Bergen, and Tyler, but could not do that, was afraid to do it because of the fact that there were only 6 votes. So that, again, the Amazing Race stuff did come into play in some fashion. So, yeah. And next to the next one.
Beautiful. And then also, we're seeing the comments in the chat. Feel free to ask any like follow-up questions about tribal if somebody was voted off, or you're hearing dynamics of your loved one's tribe. Feel free to ask. We're going to cover what we think are the pertinent points, but chime in. So we move on to our second challenge of the day, which we found out was a double elimination, which meant that out of the 3 tribes, only 1 tribe was going to secure immunity. The other 2 tribes would be going to tribal council. This challenge was a lot of fun, at least to watch. It was called Moxie Cocktails. So Moxie is a, I don't know, local soda that is considered to be a home remedy in Maine. I have not tried. Did you try it?
I've tried it. I personally think it tastes like black licorice, but also like black licorice medicine.
Wow.
I know someone else who tried it here said it tastes like gasoline.
Wow.
It's not good. It's just not good.
It's not good. It's great.
Yeah.
Y'all are really selling this. I will not be trying it.
Yeah, and I think the trick is that it's like an orange can. So I thought it was like an orange soda when I first saw it, and so when I tried it, I was like, oh no, this is not it at all.
So chiming in, Bryson is asking if there's not going to be another challenge tonight. So unfortunately, we push the challenge to the morning just because the temperatures are getting really, really low. So you'll see the next challenge in the morning. And so let's talk about Moxie Cocktails. So that challenge was, imagine just some vile ingredients being combined with this Moxie drink that's already not so pleasant, and thrown in a blender, and it's a gross food eating challenge. So all 3, they would nominate 1 member from their tribe, and they would have to basically, they would spin the wheel. It could have been mashed potatoes plus Moxie. It could have been blueberries and lemonade, which is, a little more pleasant, or whatever.
Red
corn,
hot.
red hot.
Yeah, all of the ingredients were the main ingredients were like Maine made ingredients.
Yeah.
So anything that was created in Maine, they were the main thing that they used, and they had to finish a whole cup like this, like a giant, like full, clear cup of the drink. So it wasn't like a tiny little, little tiny kitty cup or anything like that. But
yeah, so Bryson, so somebody said,
I'll answer.
okay, Alicia's going to be answering some questions, and then we'll just keep kind of going through the live. So expect some replies to your comments.
Yes.
So as far as Moxie Cocktails, so only 1 team won. And so that was Machias, the Green Tribe. And did I pronounce that right? It doesn't.
Matthias.
I'm gonna continue to butcher it, and I will move on.
That one wasn't a close one. I forgot. That was
Machias.
one.
That was pretty close. It was the final team won with 4, and then the second place team had 3. So we were going down to the last round there. And then, so that brought us to 2 different tribes going to tribal council. I'll recap one. Isaiah will recap the other. First was Talos going to tribal council. They only had 1 point in the challenge. And this was an interesting one. We kind of saw some tensions start to rise within that group. The 2 main names that rose up were Brian and Fern. It seemed like there was just kind of some clashing going on. Not completely clear on, where that clash was. Brian's proved himself to be a very early threat. Brian was very strong in challenges, was very vocal about being competitive, was very social within the tribe. And I think what happened is this kind of, playing your hand a little too soon is at least the vibe, we were hearing. Clearly a very, very, very strong player. But I think some of the tribe mates were a little worried about him.
Right.
Does that feel like?
Yeah, no, I feel like that's a valid observation for sure. 100%.
And so what we ended up seeing was 5 votes for Brian and 2 votes for Fern. So Andres stuck with Brian and voted for Fern. And then the rest of the tribe voted out Brian at that tribe. But we heard some interesting things at the voting booth. Jazzy said, "I'm sick to my stomach. I'm not sure if it's the clam chowder or the potato or the Moxie or if it's the guilt for voting out Brian." And then she paused, showed the vote, and said, "Yeah, no, it's the clam chowder." And another one from Miko. "I swear to God, if this is me, this is crazy. They must be the best liars ever." And Miko's name was never on the block.
I thought one that was I kind of like Brian's, because Brian voted for Fern and he referred to himself as Weed Killer, like the Weed Killer, because Fern So he was like, I was like,
Oh.
but unfortunately, the Fern did not lose. So I guess it was not that good of a week. I'm just kidding. But who was next? Yes. Okay. So we got Cutler next, the Red Tribe. They went in and with this tribe, kind of almost similar to round one, where it seemed almost cohesive. Is that the word? Concise? Yeah, concise. Because this person who got voted out kind of offered them the chance to vote for them and send them to the hunting grounds. And it was in good faith. It was in totally good spirit. This person kind of was just like, you send me there, and if I come back, just know that like I got your back. So there was no hard feelings. I don't know necessarily the reason for their decision. I don't know if it was that they felt like the other players, needed more of the experience or anything like that, or maybe they weren't feeling well. I'm not sure, but excuse me. When we got to this tribal, it was talked between Amanda and Joelle. Those were the names that were kind of coming up, and it seemed that the whole tribe did agree and did say that Amanda did offer her name up to be voted for, and that's kind of how it exactly happened. Everyone except for Amanda voted for her. Amanda did put a vote on Joelle, and Amanda went to the hunting grounds.
Speaking of the experience, one thing I forgot to say on the live stream is that Cam approached Amanda and basically was like, "Hey, I've gotten to play a lot of these and I know you haven't, and if you would like, it's an incredible experience. If you want this experience, like I'm happy to go to bat for you." And kind of help you stay in this game to continue to give you that experience. Unfortunately, Amanda did not take him up on that offer, so
Yeah. So, but yeah, so that's how that last tribal or that next tribal ended, and moving on.
Something I found funny from that tribal. So I wait at the voting booth. And I get to hear their little, I'm voting for this person, da 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 da. And Joel says something, and he says, "If I can get through this vote, I think I can get all the way to the end." And I'm like, "This is the first vote, sir. I do not know about this."
You still have many other people.
But I
I
admire
love
the
the
confidence.
confidence.
Exactly. So, moving on to the next try.
that's how you gotta play if you're gonna win.
Oh, you have to be a little blindly delusional to win Survivor.
Speaking of blind,
Hey, speaking of blind, the next challenge is leading the blind. So we went to the next challenge. This is one of our favorite Survivor classics. There's so many different ways that this challenge transpires, but there's a caller, somebody who is not blindfolded. They are your vocal mastermind, and then you have any arrangement of people from 2 to 4 that are blindfolded and they need to go retrieve something. So that's very similar to what we saw here. We had one person from each tribe be the caller, and then 3 tribe mates were retrievers who were completely blindfolded. They need to grab a bag of puzzle pieces, bring it back to the beginning, and then 2 people would be the puzzle solvers for their tribes. But within those bags, at least one bag per team actually had a hidden immunity idol in it. So this was an interesting position. All the blindfolded people stayed blindfolded. They could not have seen this transpire. The caller was unblindfolded, and then there were 2 puzzle solvers that obviously were unblindfolded, and they are opening the bag, dump it, open the bag, dump it. We're racing to finish this puzzle, and you see what starts to transpire is there's an idol in it. And for reference, this idol's yay big, looks nothing like the puzzle pieces, and there's a piece of paper that goes with it. There's no amount of subtlety with it, and that's intentional. And so what we see happen is on the Machias tribe,
Machias.
Machias tribe, the Greek people. We see Alex initially grab the immunity idol, and then he ends up putting it back.
Mm-hmm.
I think it might have been to subtly grab it later, whatever the case may be. And Brad ends up just grabbing it, and that ends up being in Brad's possession. Alex got rid of it. Brad grabs it, which ends up with an interesting kind of how that word ended up spreading later at camp.
Mm-hmm.
So Brad ends up telling Alex, who he believes to be an ally. Alex tells Bergen, and Bergen ends up spreading it to the whole tribe. So now this idol is no longer secret. The word has spread like wildfire. Then similar stories on Talos. So Fern ends up grabbing the idol, probably the most subtle of the three folks who grabbed the idol. Fern grabs the idol and only tells their immediate core four alliance, and we'll get into who those folks are, but tells only their core four, so a little bit more private there. And then for Cutler Tribe, Brianna saw the idol 1st and
I just left it.
yes, so she saw it and then put it back because her goal, I got to talk with her in a confessional. She was like, I don't want to grab this so visibly right now, so I'm going to kind of like hide it for a second. But very interesting conversation that Cam actually had a feeling that there was going to be an idol in these bags. And so he intentionally put him and his main ally, Brianna, on the puzzle roll, which is super, super smart because in reality, Cam's the one who sniffed this out. Brianna ends up not grabbing it, and Cam ends up with the idol in his possession. Cam ends up grabbing it when Brianna had left it there. So Brianna left with a little bit of sour taste in her mouth, but she's like, you know what? At least it's with my number one ally. We're good. But Cam ends up going like straight back to camp and telling the whole tribe. So now this is no longer a private idol.
Yeah.
He said, you know, we'll use it till the swap. We'll use it till the merge. This is for us. We've seen that on the show. We'll see how that really works.
Yeah, definitely think whether or not the entire, because apparently Cam had told me that in his confessional that he grabbed it when the challenge was over, so all blindfolds were off.
Oh, wow.
So that's what scared him. He was like, oh, everyone saw it. So there's no reason. It's not like only a couple people saw it. Like everyone in my tribe saw it. So why hide that? And yeah, I know Alex said it when you were saying earlier, like Alex apparently put it in his pocket, then took it out because they thought they were missing a puzzle piece. So he was worried that a puzzle piece might have like slipped into his pocket with the bag when he put it in frantically. So he took it out to see if there was a puzzle piece in his pocket. There wasn't. And in that time, that's when Bragg grabbed it. So yeah.
Very interesting as far as how all this panned out. I mean, this is an idol that lasts till Final 5, and you're getting it pre-merge very visibly. This is like, ooh, if I got this is burning in my pocket. I don't want it.
I don't want it. As soon as I get rid, as soon as I was able to get rid of it, even if I honestly felt safe, I don't want it because I just get the target off my back, please.
We need to put a pin in this because somebody does end up having to play in one of these idols at some point, and you know, yeah. So let's talk about the next vote out. So what ends up happening is only one tribe was securing immunity there, and the tribe that secured immunity was Machias, the green tribe. So that left us with the first tribal council that I'll talk through for the Cutler tribe, which is a red tribe. So that tribe, so initially from the beginning, we saw just a bit of divide of, there was kind of this core four, as they called it, forming between Cam, Taylor, Brianna, and David. That core four seems to kind of be like the anchor within that red tribe. And then they've pulled in Matt here and there. There are some individual relationships at the beginning that formed with Amanda that eventually Amanda asked to be voted out.
Right.
Those are severed.
Right.
Some individual relationships that happened with Joelle that happened but got severed. And what ended up happening with this vote is when you have such a strong core four, even though some people had those individual relationships with Joelle wasn't in that core four, and when you're talking about a vote of 6 people, unfortunately he caught the brunt end of it. And so Joelle was voted out. It was a 5-1 vote. Joelle was actually trying to throw his number one, Matt, under the bus. Which, to be fair, if you're the bottom 2 on the tribe, that's kind of the option that you have.
Yeah.
So Joelle definitely fought his hardest to the end, and it was tough to see him go, but it was a 5-1 vote, Joelle to Matt there.
And then we went to the next tribal, which was Talos again. So with this vote, as I was talking to the members of Talos, it seemed like, again, with Fern telling their core 4, that there was also a possibility that, could have spread easily to the other 2 members of the tribe. And based on what I was kind of going around, was that it was either going to be Andres, Jazzy, or according to Andres, Andres wanted to do Fern. Because I guess probably just to kind of stay consistent with how he voted the last round, with voting for Fern. But with this one, I believe that Andres was kind of being told what he wanted to hear from his fellow tribe mates. And that one kind of went into a 5-1 against Andres, and one for Fern, pretty cut and dry. When it came to the decision making of it, it seemed that again another vote out where everyone kind of seemed like they were on the same page. There were targets that people were wanting to do, or that they were saying potentially, like for example, again because the factor of the fundraising immunity is always a factor that they have to think of. So you usually hear the second option just in case that person has that immunity advantage. So I believe that was probably going to be Jazzy. Jazzy seemed to be the second name just in case Andres did have that, but he did not. So Jazzy did not have to worry about receiving any votes that round. And yeah, now Andres was sent to the hunting ground.
Yeah, I mean, that's a tough spot to be in when you go from a 5-2 vote before and you're part of the two. The natural, unless somebody has shaken it up, and it's tough in a game that moves this quick,
right,
to have some kind of shakeup. And I think Andres just caught the brunt end of I was in the minority before, and I'm in the minority again.
And I remember too that I believe Jazzy was the one who said this. Apparently, right after Brian's vote out, Andres, I guess, was maybe trying to do some damage control and was trying to convince the tribe that like he was okay with Brian going home, and he was like, that was a great move. I think that was the smartest thing to do. Blah blah blah. So I think again with the damage control, I don't think it worked in his favor because Jazzy had said that made her feel like she couldn't trust Andres because if the person that you voted with, you're now saying, oh yeah, I'm cool with that person being voted out. The inconsistency kind of put up a red flag for Jazzy, which again I think also just didn't set up Andres in for the next round to possibly make it through the next vote that they had. So yeah,
absolutely. So we get to the final tribal council of the night. So this one's spicy, so buckle up. So the challenge itself, fun one that we got to test before, and it was a lot of fun. Imagine this circular disc. There's a smaller circular circle within it that has about a 2-inch divot into it. Imagine you can fill some water in there. This is not a lot of water. Again, 2-inch divot within this circle. And they have to fill up that thing, go over some balance beams that are hard to do, and then try to fill up the water receptacle at the end. They're going back and forth, falling off this balance beam, and then they have to solve a puzzle within that contraption at the end. And so we ended up seeing so that only one tribe was going to tribal council this go around. So unfortunately, we saw Machias, the green tribe. I still don't know how to say that. I'm gonna stop there. Machias, the green tribe, was the brunt of that, so they ended up losing there. And this is where things got spicy. So we checked in on these folks, at the beginning, the middle of their discussion, the end of their discussion, and the plan changed so many times.
Yeah.
It is tough when you're at a 6-person vote. There is an idol that everyone knows about. So remember, this is Brad's idol that he told one person, and then one person told another, and then one person told the whole tribe. And we have a very interesting dynamic on this tribe. So there is a very core 3 that are pulled in a 4. So the core 3 is Culp, Bergen, and Tyler. And they have pulled in Alex as their 4th. Alex seemed to kind of be almost in this middle ground where his number 1, Alex and Fraser, have both said that they're each other's number 1s. Clearly, Fraser's not in that 4 there. And then Alex has also expressed interest in working with Brad. So Alex is in this middle spot with this. It's not 3-1-3. This is 3 on one side, Alex in the middle, and 2, which complicates things a lot. So original plans we heard were possibly the vote was going to go on Brad and, Flusher's idol. Then we hear things of possibly putting the votes on Fraser because Fraser's not in that 4. And maybe we can convince Brad that the vote's for him, get out Fraser, flush Brad's idol. They're just trying to weaken the minority as much as possible, which makes sense.
Right.
And last we heard, I walked in on a very good conversation of Alex really trying to sway Brad to play his idol on Fraser. And that is kind of where we left it. We chime in, we hear things, and then, it's not like the show. We don't have 24/7 footage on them. And then we see a tribal. What ends up going down is 6 votes were cast from the 6 castaways. 2 for Tyler, which was a name we had not heard thrown out. Oh, when I did peace signs, it did little balloons.
Oh, I was like, why are the balloons on the screen?
And then we saw 2 votes. Yeah, we saw 2 votes for Fraser and then 2 for Brad. But what ends up happening is Brad was pretty adamant of like, I'm not going home with an idol in my pocket and I'm going to play this idol.
Yep.
And what we saw is Brad played his idol. So that means 4 votes were valid, 2 for Tyler, 2 for Fraser. Brad correctly plays his idol, nullifying 2 of those votes. So that means we're tied. We go to a revote. So Tyler and Fraser could no longer vote. They went to a revote. And some interesting things from the voting booth. Bergen, so sorry, I'm backtracking. Bergen, the first go around, said, if I had it my way, you would not be going home. And he said this about Fraser, which is so interesting. As Fraser in the minority, my guess is that he wanted Brad out instead.
Brad. Yeah.
And that he had interest in working with Fraser. So tough to see that. And then we also saw Alex. When Alex got to the voting booth, he was there for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Like he did not know where he wanted to put this vote. So very like tense tribal. This was not easy. Then we get to the revote, which finally ends up going 3 votes to Fraser, 1 vote to Tyler. And unfortunately sending Fraser to the hunting ground. So it's probably our spiciest tribal, best way to kind of end off the night.
Yeah, I think it was honestly a great way to end the night. Again, you saw the first idol play of the season, and again, it did work. You know, again, you saw a scramble with multiple names being thrown out, different plans. Again, from the time when we did the confessionals, we were around the players, it completely flipped. So we were also shocked and kind of like, whoa, what's happening?
Yeah.
So that was a very, very fun and dramatic way to
end it. Left Colt, Bergen, and Tyler in their very big power positions.
Yes.
They flushed an idol and they flushed somebody that they weren't working with, like that massive power play.
Yeah. But you know, yeah, they got through that. But then we tell them that they are finally going to swap. So we're at the final 15. And this is how they decided to do the swap. So with 15 people, obviously you can't, unless you do 3 tribes of 5, you can't split evenly. But we did 2 tribes. So we had all of our players, I believe, I was not here, but was it drawing a chip out of a bag?
Yep. So they had numbers 1 through 15. They each drew numbers.
Okay, so was the 1 and 2 were the, okay, great. So number 1 and 2 were the captains for either tribe. So we saw with Taylor and Bergen being captains, so they were on opposite teams or opposite tribes. And their job was to assign not their tribe members, but the other tribe's members. Excuse me. So after that, we went through the players and they, assigned each other's teams. Taylor received from Bergen, received Melissa, Jazzy, Alex, Cam, Brianna, and Fern. And then Bergen received from Taylor, Tyler, Brad, Dave, Miko, Matt, and David. And that left Culp on the outs, being that 15th person who didn't have a tribe assigned to him. So for Culp, he's still in the game. It's not like he got taken out because he didn't get chosen. But Culp is spending the night in exile, which is technically the hunting grounds. So he is currently residing with the players who are waiting for their chance to rejoin the game at whatever point that is. For me, I think that that's a pretty interesting way, because usually exile in other games is like you are by yourself, no one is around you, have fun alone. But this one is, you get to be with people who are from not just your tribe, from, honestly, I think, he's the only person from the original.
Fraser's there.
Oh, Fraser's there. Oh, yeah. So Fraser, I guess. Yeah, Fraser as well. So someone you just voted out.
Someone else too.
Oh
no.
Yeah, and then but then everyone else is from other tribes, so you get this information. Obviously, he does have Fraser there, so maybe Fraser might also try to make sure he doesn't get the right information. Fraser could have easily taken the time to, before Colt got there, to say things about Colt. So who knows? But it's interesting to be around a bunch of people that you might have not played with that are from different tribes, but also people that you can give information to in case they come back in the game. You could utilize them as your, in your favor, because Colt will eventually just join the tribe who loses the first immunity challenge tomorrow. Once they vote out their first member, he'll just join that, and we'll be at our final 14 again, 2 tribes of 7. But yeah, is there anything else with that? Because I know you were around it a little more than that.
Yeah, I mean, I got to be at the hunting grounds at the end of the night and kind of got to see. I said, "Where's Colt?" They said, "Oh, we went to the bathroom." And then they're all chatting. They're like, "He's the enemy. Like, we need to stay together. Like, do not feed him information."
Not welcome.
It was very much this unified front
I would hate that.
of like we're we're working together because we need one of us to get back into this game and we need one of us to do well. So why would we help somebody who's still in the game that maybe we don't want to work with?
Okay, wow.
Do we get to see hunting grounds footage? Unfortunately not, but they're basically in a separate camp. They're all just kind of living the survivor experience together. And then at a certain point, we will reveal more details of how they may end up back in the game. But yeah, I think within the swap, just interesting dynamics. I mean, we went into the swap with 3 tribes of 5.
Mhm.
Like the OG tribes of 5, completely equal. Everybody before the swap lost 2 people. So as far as the breakdown within tribes of OG tribes, it gets messy, it gets murky. We won't get into that.
Yeah, so something I wanted to point out too, I guess, with these 2 tribes, so a little detail. So for Bergen tribe, which is the new Cutler tribe, Tyler is the only female presenting person on that tribe. Other than that, she's surrounded by a bunch of male presenting people. So that dynamic could be very interesting. It can go either which way, right? Like they could possibly just vote out the one girl, and it could be a guy's fest and whatever, or Tyler could maybe find her way to possible merge while the men take themselves out. So either way, there.
Tyler's been around no women.
Yeah, literally no women.
Tyler got just BJ. BJ got voted out, and then now Tyler's on a tribe full of men.
Yeah. But honestly, as she's my sister, I've been around her for most of her life, all of her life, really. I think she's fine. I think she's been around a lot of men most of her life. With our family, it's very male heavy, so I think she's kind of knows how to, like, work with that environment. I think she knows how to bounce off of it. She's around that energy all the time. So I think knowing my sister, I think she's going to be okay. And then with Talos, something that was interesting there is that the people who have the idols are both right. They're both on there. Yeah. So Fern and Cam are on the same tribe. So there are 2 idols currently on one tribe. So and they're both from, again, separate tribes or original tribes, and they all have members, I believe. Yes. Yeah. They each have 2 members from their original tribe. So Cam has Brianna and Taylor, and then Fern has Jazzy and Melissa. And I think overall, I would say those trios are already close. It's not like there was like one person who was on the outs. Let's say, like, I don't know. Let's say if Andres was still in the game. Like, if Andres was in part of that, like, Taylor's 3 that was there, I don't know if that would really work. But having those trios that are already kind of close, but then both have idols in their possession in that trio, I think that tribal could be a little messy, but also maybe give Alex, the only other green tribe member, a chance to maybe decide, again, another middle position for Alex. Alex has been very much in the middle of the whole game. So if he can maybe ride the swap and do another middle game and get himself further, I think that would be beneficial to him as well. So
yeah. Something to mention that we're going to see now, and I was really excited for, is one of the tribes, the Cutler tribe. So Cutler is the one that had Brianna and Taylor that went on the reward shop together.
Yes.
They have not eliminated each other, so there is no possible suspicion that they have an idol. The word has gone around at this point of, like, that this kind of thing. Well, actually, no. Cutler's the only person who took the Beware advantage. So now what we're going to see is maybe tonight that information might be shared of what that Beware advantage was. And the other 2 tribes did not take it. But what Cutler has kind of guessed is that Melissa and Brian went together to the reward shop. Who did we see voted off first from that tribe? Brian. Similar story on the green tribe. We saw BJ and Fraser go together to the reward shop. Who got voted off first? BJ.
Right.
So unfortunately Fraser's out, but I think this adds a dynamic for Melissa where people are gonna, like, there is no way for Melissa to prove that she doesn't have an idol. It is just believability. It is just, is Melissa telling the truth or not? And I'm so worried for her. Like, Cutler is going to be spreading this. This was a discussion all throughout Cutler. So there are 5 people now in 2 different tribes talking about homegirl Melissa might have an idol. And she can't do anything.
The only other way is if Colt comes back and somehow heard about that from Brian.
Oh, that's true.
Alicia, if you didn't hear, said that there's the only way is maybe if Colt comes back with information from the eliminated players and it validates that no, Melissa never opened this.
Right.
But that's Culp's not part of her tribe. I don't see that likely. Like I see this like I think this is the problem.
Yeah, and I think too. Honestly, this is a personal opinion. I think that we're going to see a little bit more of because it was mentioned a lot with the hunting party Swiss. I think we're gonna with a swap, we're going to see a lot more of that coming into play and coming into people's strategies since it's all mixed up now. And there are certain hunting parties that have one member left, some have two members left, and some have all three members left. We haven't hit a single hunting party yet that has none, so we still have everybody in the hunting grounds right now. But there's a lot of different factors going into day 3, and I think it's going to be very, very exciting. So yeah.
So Isaiah, we're down to the final 15.
Yes, we
6
are.
people have been eliminated and sent to the hunting grounds. Who do you think's got this in the bag? We have enough information that we're not blindly operating. We've seen people play. Who's your winner pick and where we're at in the game?
So from where we're at right now, my winner pick currently is Brianna. I think that Brianna has a strong, level-headed kind of understanding of where she is in the game. I think she's aligned herself with her tribe in a way where she does have options. Like I was talking to her earlier today, where she's like, I have a 2 here, I have a 2 here, I have a 3 here, and she understands that like she can't like show all of her cards, like she can't show her hand, but she has ways to just like whatever happens, at least I know I have an escape route. If the vote goes the way I don't want to, I can go this way and still be okay. And honestly, hey, had she made a move on Taylor today, she would have had an idol. But I think honestly, knowing also with Cam having that idol and knowing that Cam and Brianna seem to be number ones, I don't know. I think she just has herself surrounded also by a lot of shields. So
Yeah.
a lot of other people that might be taken out before her. So yeah, I'm rooting for Brianna for sure.
I agree with that a lot. I mean, especially, we talked about how Brianna didn't get the idol. That was good.
Mhm.
That was good for her game. She
Mhm.
should not have gotten that idol. That was such a public idol
Yeah.
that like I think she's a little bitter about it, but that was good for her game.
Yeah.
She knows where the idol is. It's with an ally that will not use it against her.
Mhm.
Like that is such a leg up for her.
I
Are
agree.
they together on the same tribe?
They are.
Oh,
Yeah. So I think Brianna's in a very solid spot coming off of day 2.
if you couldn't catch on, Brianna was also my pick.
Yeah.
But my very, very, very close second is Melissa. And I think Melissa has a hard road ahead of her, but I've been super, super impressed by her.
Mhm.
She's somebody who's played these games before, and she is obviously downplaying her threat level. And that is a hard thing to do because downplaying your threat level can really come off as inauthentic
Mhm.
if you are doing it poorly.
Right.
And I'm watching it. I've seen her do it, and I'm like, oh, okay, she's playing like somebody who, clearly like she's not shying away from the fact that she's played before. She's interacting with some of these people who have played before and
Mhm.
kind of know her vibe.
Yeah.
But it's like downplaying it pretty well. Like when we heard early game, early game matters a lot. She was in a lot of people's pockets.
Yeah.
A lot of people wanted to work with her. And some interesting things. What's unique about this season is we started the game not in tribes yet. So she I heard her say, like, I talked to every single person before we split into tribes. And she was sharing an anecdote about, one specific player she didn't gel with. But the backing behind all that was she was like, I talked with all 19 other players or whatever, 20 other players, and like not everyone did that. Like she took the initiative to do that, and during challenges there are opportunities to talk cross tribal in challenges. She's taken those opportunities.
Mhm.
She is going to work with Culp. They are in lockstep, and so the losing tribe tomorrow will inherit Culp into their tribe.
Right.
So if Melissa loses and gets Culp into her tribe, like that is kind of my backbone of like where I'm like they're in a good spot. They
Mhm.
can maybe make it to the merge together. Culp can be her shield.
Mhm.
Culp is keeping Bergen as her shield. I'm thinking through her whole game.
Yeah.
But I really do think she can hide behind a lot of these visible players, and
Yeah.
she's got the social game to do it.
Absolutely.
So we'll see.
Yeah, I honestly would probably agree. I think Melissa would probably, other than my sister, I love her, but that's biased, right? So I don't put my sister out there on my top. I want her to do well, but not as well as me. So that's what I'm rooting for. Love you, Tyler. I would say Melissa's probably my close second as well. Especially like you said, like she's known in these games. She's plays these games usually very hard, and I think the whole downplay strategy, whether it was seen different by other people, the way she's kind of gradually, because I feel like she's starting to put her foot on the gas a little bit, but not too much. Like she's not revving it. So I really appreciate this gradual kind of growth you see from her. And yeah, I think that she, again, it's going to be tough, but she can probably make it pretty far if she puts her pieces where she needs to, for sure.
Well, fingers crossed one of us is right.
Yeah, right?
We'll see. We'll see.
Yes.
Well, there's no more questions left in the chat. We've run out of things to talk about. This has been lovely. So we are looking forward to day 3. We've gone through day 1 and 2. Day 1 is a little shorter, so you're not gonna get. We didn't get a recap last night, but we got a recap tonight, and you're gonna get the live after show from Isaiah and I each night.
Yeah.
So lots of lovely thank yous and good things. So nothing left in the chat, so we are gonna
Love y'all.
sign off, and we'll see you bright and early.
Oh.
When should our viewers tune in?
Yes, you finished my sentence that I was on. We're going to see you bright and early at 8 a.m. Eastern tomorrow. So get some rest. We need it as well.
Yeah, again, it's our first day with Swapped Tribe after a night of being together, and I'm sure knowing these players, even though it is cold and they're tired, there was some strategy going on tonight. So tomorrow's going to be a very, very fun day. So yeah, cool. Yes, we'll see you guys tomorrow morning and tomorrow night back here with us.
Bye bye.